The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, today in Aging Horizons we have a really special show for you. We're going to be talking about an acronym called NCAPS, and really what it comes down to is it's person-centered planning. We're going to talk about how we're doing that now. We have a great guest to give us lots of ideas about what's going on in the field, and we're going to tell you all about person-centered planning. So stay with us.
Final call. 566.
Hello, gentlemen. May I see your Montana Real IDs?
IDs? Why, I'm Captain Meriwether Lewis.
And I'm Captain William Clark.
Hang on, I see more than one William Clark.
It's the real me, I promise.
Discover more at mtrealid.gov. Available now.
Montana Real ID. It's the real me.
And me.
I have so many questions about power of attorney.
Well, some powers of attorney are for finances and others are for healthcare decisions.
A power of attorney designates an agent who would make decisions on your behalf.
While making a power of attorney, you have the ability to control your agent's power.
You also have the ability to decide when that POA would take effect.
Wait, am I giving away all my rights?
Power of attorney isn't a license to make any decision for you, just those that you've specified.
Your agent should be somebody that's working in your best interest, but it should also be somebody that you would trust.
What if they try to abuse their power?
Protective measures like third-party accounting, secondary signatures, defined spending and gifting limits can help protect against financial exploitation. An agent's powers can always be limited by a customized power of attorney, and they can be revoked by you or the court if the power of attorney is abused.
So carefully drafted estate planning documents can help ensure that your finances are monitored, but not abused.
If you or someone you know is being exploited, please report to Aging Services Bureau at 844-277-9300 or the Legal Service Developer at 1-800-332-2272. This message sponsored by the DPHHS Aging Service Bureau.
I was angry and upset when the doctor told me I have diabetes. I just didn't want to deal with it, the needles and the diet restrictions. But after I started to learn about it, those feelings changed. I was at risk for a heart attack caused by high blood sugar. That got my attention. I started watching my diet and making sure I got enough exercise every day. I want to be around for my grandkids, and now that I know what to do, it seems like a small price to pay.
Ask your doctor about diabetes education or visit montana211.org.
Hello everyone and welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Kimmy Everman, and as I said, we're going to be talking about a big old acronym today, at least in part, and it really speaks to a very important philosophy of person-centered planning and what that all means and how it might affect you and what it might mean in your life. We have a great guest with us today, Michael Woods. Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
And Michael, you are a quality assurance program manager. You work for DPHHS, and you've been doing this a while. You've been out in the field a bit. Tell me what is going on in terms of, now I know that the waiver that you specifically work with is Big Sky Waiver. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Big Sky Waiver is really designed to prevent institutionalization for people with disabilities and those who are elderly that meet the level of care, to really keep them out of the nursing homes and really keep them in the community where they want to be.
And that's really, that's a very collaborative process, right? To start to think about doing that, or it has to be. And that's where the person-centered planning comes in. So when you are working with someone who wants to be on the Big Sky Waiver, you know, what is that person like? Do they have disabilities? Are they a senior or an older person? Do they already own a house? I mean, what's a profile kind of that person?
Well, honestly, it's anybody that really meets that level of care criteria.
Okay.
You know, that really needs services that would keep an individual out of a nursing home where they may have a disability or there is no age limit or qualifying criteria that's surrounded by age. It's just meeting that level of care, and where they require services that would otherwise put them in a nursing home. If
Sure.
They didn't,
So they'd have to be in a facility. So what are a few things that might have a person meet that level of care that you're talking about?
So generally, they have to meet Medicaid eligibility criteria, which is kind of outlined in the Office of Public Assistance, and there's several doors to really get into Medicaid eligibility.
And then, once you're looking at that, are you looking at the kinds of services available then that person might be able to use?
Absolutely. They will often, once they get that level of care and financial criteria met through the Office of Public Assistance, they'll refer them to a big Sky Waiver, a case management team who will come out and do their own evaluation and go from there. And
sure. And the Big Sky Waiver is with the Home and Community-Based Services folks. Is that correct? Do they run that?
That is correct.
Yeah. And that's really, if you think you might be eligible, it's all over the state, right? It isn't just in Helena or just in Missoula. If you're eligible, you can get services pretty much anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And do you think that, do most people really want to take advantage of this to stay out of a facility? It sounds like it might be hard to get used to being at home and trying to cope with these things. Is there like a person that might come to help them, or is that the way that goes?
Well, the nice thing about Big Sky Waiver, it really is person-centered on their needs and what is really going to make them most successful in the community, whether it's providing home modifications like bathroom modifications like roll and shower or ramp, or it provides caregivers for socialization or feeding, dressing, bathing, that sort of stuff, and even provides supplies depending on the person's needs and really what's going to make them successful.
Yeah, and you mentioned that successful in their community. That sounds like that would be like part of your mission statement or something, because that's so important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You want that person to feel like they belong and are a part of the community, and this is helpful.
Yeah, it's centered all around really community integration and what's going to keep them in the least restrictive environment and really be a part of their family and as part of their own community that they belong to.
I think that's really, Michael, that's really awesome when I think about all these folks who may have a challenge, who don't have to just put their life aside because they're challenged. They can get some assistance, and then really it's possible to continue to live either completely independently or semi-independently.
Absolutely.
Right? And you said that your staff will do an assessment and figure out what kinds of things they might need and kind of go from there.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a two-part where they'll start with by calling Mountain Pacific Quality Health and requesting a level of care, who will send out a nurse and come do the level of care to see what kind of services can be provided, whether it's community first choice services and or a referral to the waiver program.
Super. Well, folks, this is a great program, Big Sky Waiver, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about person-centered care and how important and integral that is to folks living and loving their lives in the community. Stay with us.
Montana's fighting COVID-19, and if we want to stay open, we should all listen to the experts and mask up, especially when we can't social distance.
We want our students in class and sports back this fall, but we've got work to do. One proven path to slow COVID-19 is to mask up.
We're wearing our masks.
And our players are too.
I'm wearing my mask to protect you.
Will you wear yours to protect me?
Mask up, Montana.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300. This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare Summary Notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here today talking about person-centered planning with Michael Woods. Michael, so glad to have you here. We talked a bit in our last segment about the way that folks can kind of get into these services, and we've mentioned a few times person-centered planning. Can you kind of give an idea to our audience? What does that mean? What is person-centered planning?
Well, person-centered planning is so important to all the process when it comes to community-based services. It really puts that person in control of the services they receive, making the choices of the providers and really how they really want to live their life with the services they have, and making the goals and objectives to really live their life to the fullest, and puts them kind of in control of what they, how and when and where they want to live their life.
Sure, because having a disability or aging doesn't mean you have to give everything up.
Exactly.
That you love or that you're used to. Certainly, person-centered planning is so important to making sure that the folks we serve don't get burdened with what we think they should have. Correct?
Yeah. Well, there's no one's going to know better how they want to live their life than the individual themselves.
Right. And I think having worked in human services for many years myself, I think we sometimes want that person to have a better life so much that maybe we put our own desires maybe or needs on them, when really, in a subconscious way, and when really it's about what they think is important.
Absolutely. It really empowers individuals to take that control and step outside of what I can't do, but I can do this, but with these services in place and with this help and resources.
Right. And the person that is sort of in the center of this is really the one making all those decisions. It isn't, the social worker or one of the periphery helper people. It's really that person, correct?
Right.
Yeah, and the empowerment that would bring to that person, it would seem like that would be something that would help them, more and more and more, and get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Absolutely. So ideally, the individual would say, here's what I want, this is what I want to accomplish, and then you know, the nurse case manager and the social worker, they're kind of on the sidelines as the coach and say, oh, you want to, you know, we can offer this service, or, you know, offer this as an idea to help you get to that goal, you know.
Sure. Oh, that sounds great. So, you know, you may not be able to be a race car driver, but you might have some other thing you can accomplish that is part of racing or whatever. I mean, it's all about making you have access, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, you must see lots of folks with their person-centered planning. What do you think some of the real positives are?
It's really, you know, being able to see people out in the community living their lives and accomplishing those goals they set every year to really, you know, set themselves apart from others despite any adversities that a person's disability might bring.
And also, boy, talk about building hope in a person, that they can make some steps forward. You know, I'm assuming too that the folks that are around that client are helping them identify what might be available to help them out, or they're not sort of saying, this is what you should do, this is what you should do.
That's correct. You know, and the waiver really is designed to provide you know, services to where it's like, you know, you never look at any adversity as a roadblock, but just as a detour. You know, you're still going to get to the same goal, you're still going to get to your destination, but here's a different way to get to it. And then say, you know, you might not be able to do it this way, but here is the services that we can offer to you to still get to your destination.
You know, thanks, Michael, for sort of clarifying that, because as I've researched this, I've wondered, what if you have a really big dream that seems impossible? Do you still try, or I mean, do you still try to find ways to get there somehow?
Absolutely. There's almost no goal that can't be accomplished in one way or another, whether it's informal supports or supports directly offered by the Big Sky Waiver program, and just connecting an individual to those resources.
That's great to hear. That's super to hear, because I really did sort of think, oh, well, what if they want to do a huge thing? And really what it comes down to is support, encouragement, and just perseverance in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
Well, folks, you know, person-centered planning is not a new thing, but it's not old either. We want to make sure that you know what it means, and we want to make sure that in your life you feel like you're using person-centered planning so that you can reach those goals that you want to set. We have a lot more to talk about, and we want you to come on back.
I was outside working on some equipment, nothing too strenuous. I started sweating and feeling out of breath.
When he felt pressure in his chest and aching in his arms, I knew we had to call 911.
First responders were there before we knew it. 38 minutes later, the doctors had restored the blood flow to my heart.
Now we know dialing 911 saved his life.
Your life is on the line.
This message sponsored by Mission Lifeline Montana.
I take care of my wife at home. When I found out training was available, I said, sign me up. It's made a huge difference.
When my husband was injured at work, it was life-altering. The class has taught me that it's okay to grieve, to ask for help, and to better cope as a caregiver.
My dad lives 4 hours away, and the Powerful Tools class has taught me that it's okay to ask for help. I highly recommend them.
To find out about this course for caregivers, go to powerfultoolsforcaregivers.org.
It's amazing the difference a little training can make.
Out here, We love our animals, from the wildlife to the livestock. Inside, it's the same. They're just like family. We keep them happy and healthy, most of the time. Secondhand smoke puts pets at risk for cancer, feline lymphoma, vomiting, increases the risk of tumors and lung cancer, even causes eye and skin disease. Secondhand smoke puts your pet's life at risk.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're talking about person-centered planning today with Michael Woods. Michael, happy to have you here. Now, I would really like us to just talk a bit about a project that we're working on at Senior and Long-Term Care. And it's that acronym I was talking about, NCAPS, and that stands for the National Center on Advancing Person-Centered Practices. And as I said, we're working on a project as a department with that. Do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit and just give us an idea of what we're looking at?
Absolutely. We've been privileged to have NCUPS working with us on improving our person-centered planning process and in really engaging with stakeholders so they can have more of a voice in our planning process and on policies and different ideas to improve the program.
Right. And the stakeholders, there's one group in particular that we're working with that are named the CFC. Why don't you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, the Community First Choice program is designed to provide caregivers and PCAs or personal care attendants in the home. Could be individuals that are provided by an agency base or hired by the individual. And so it provides hours through Medicaid to an individual, a certain number of hours what they qualify for that caregiver to be in the home for activities of daily living, or could go all the way to shopping or community integration.
So it's really based on, and again, we're going to go back to that, the very core of it all is person-centered planning. So the person that is going to be getting these services is really the most important sort of linchpin here in terms of what we're trying to plan. So they're very important, and then you and probably your staff are able to provide some guidance as to planning for the future and what kinds of things they need.
Absolutely. So both the waiver program, all the waiver programs, and the CFC program all really combine that person-centered planning on here's the services you're receiving. How do you want to use those services? How would it look like, and in your home or in the community, and really empowers the person to, live their life with those services and how they want to see their life lived.
Right. Now the project because we're working together on this, but the project that we're working on, as you said, has got some stakeholders, and that would be that CFC group, the community, what did we say that was? Oh, Community First Choice. And they're acting as a sort of advisory to the other folks that are working on the project. There's definitely some state staff, but there's also these stakeholders that you talked about. Why is that important, Michael?
Well, it's really focused on the idea of nothing about us without us, and and we're trying to unify that definition of what does person-centered planning look like, and have that same definition across all the waivers and the CFC program, and then really NCAPS is helping us to, what does stakeholder engagement look like, and how to really incorporate those voices of our stakeholders and the participants, and the family members of those participants of each program.
Exactly. Because these are all people who, if you will, are on the front lines in a way with that person and their disability or whatever challenge they're working with. And so these are folks whose voices need to be heard because they have good information.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, we've just got a couple of minutes left of our show, and I just want to make sure that we encourage our audience to give a call if they have questions. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think anybody, we can direct them to the right area. There is no wrong question. We can get them the information they need if they qualify for CFC or one of the waiver programs, and really get them on the right track to community integration.
Right. And as we said earlier, you can, pretty much in any part of the state, you can make these inquiries. This isn't just a Helena program or something like that. And you can start talking with maybe one of the RPOs, the regional program officers.
Yes.
Now, and we also said, now we're going to put the number up on the screen. So you call that number, and then you say, I need to talk to an RPO, or who you're going to ask for?
You can call the number here, and they can direct you to the RPO in your area, or you can jump straight to the Mountain Pacific Quality Health and request a level of care and see if they meet the level of care for the waiver or CFC program.
Super. So you can almost do a little bit of it on your own to begin with if you want to. That's great. Michael, this has just been such a great conversation. Person-centered planning is exciting and so necessary. Any sort of last thoughts about how important it is?
Well, I just think it's so important in each individual engage in their own plan and really be the driver in their seat rather than kind of taking the back seat to their own planning.
Right. You have to show up and make it what you want your life to be.
Absolutely.
So, well, we thank you very much for being here today. And folks, if you think that you are eligible or even have a question, reach out, give a call. It's the best way to live your best life, and we want that for you. For Aging Horizons, I'm Kimmy Epperman.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.